Hey everybody, this is Harry Bernard Taylor with the Straight Up Wrestling Show. I'm with my man Danny Paris, and right now we're going to go over the show, His Pro Wrestling from Pacolet, South Carolina. Happened on May 27th, 2022. So Danny's going to talk about the things that happened at His Pro Wrestling. And Danny, I'm just going to go ahead and give you the floor, let you talk about what happened at His Pro Wrestling.
All right. Well, Harry, this group's going to be facing some roadblocks upcoming, but they're very much fixable. I'm just not if Promoter William Rollins is aware that these are stumbling blocks that could hurt him later, but, I enjoy his shows. I enjoy the people there, his attitude and everything, but these are problems that he may not foresee coming up. The attendance on this card was down to 59 people.
Okay.
That is very much a red flag because it had been drawing upwards to 90 to 100 people.
Right.
And I know that people are just now getting ready to get out of school and start summer vacations. But let me just say this, the last few shows they have been doing out there, the attendance has dropped a little bit each show. So something is going wrong, and I don't know what that something is.
Right.
But we'll get into the card right now. That was Jackson Cage against Ryan Manis. It was Cage winning at 10-21. It was 2 stars.
Okay.
Both of these guys tried to wrestle babyface.
Okay.
Up next was Antonio Morgan defeating Rob Killjoy 12-52, 2.5 stars. Again, another babyface match.
Okay. How many? Antonio Morgan.
Up next, upset of the evening was AJ Frost defeating George South Sr.
Oh, wow.
13 minutes, 2 seconds, 2.5 stars.
Okay.
AJ used the ropes to win.
Okay.
Up next, I'm going to give you one of the problems that he does not realize. Dirty Joe defeated Luca Daniels in 9-17.
Oh, wow.
2 stars.
Shocking.
Both of them were pretty much heel, even though Luca was wanting to try to act good with the crowd, but it didn't seem to go over.
Okay.
I heard him before the show started. He asked him, says, haven't I been a babyface down here before in the past? And Rollins replied, yes, I think so. And the problem with Luca, he's been in so many close proximity areas. For some places he's good, some places he's bad.
Right.
And he can't even remember on his show whether he was good or bad. And a lot of these shows attract a lot of the same traveling audience.
Oh, yeah.
And his inconsistency of jumping around like this, they really didn't know whether to cheer him or to boo him.
Oh, man. Yeah.
And so
I wouldn't have. I mean, it's a little confusing. I think he played. I think probably a couple months ago, when him and Joey Reimer took on Cooper Housley. I think he was supposed to be a babyface in that match, but that's the only time really I've seen him as a babyface over there as far as at His Pro Wrestling. But go ahead, David.
Oh, yeah. So, but it's pretty bad when you can't even remember yourself, and also the fact that that doggone the people don't know.
Right.
And even worse, I don't even wonder if the people care.
Yes.
Because he's been turned around so much.
Right.
And up next, another battle of the good guys, Big Nasty and Dump Truck, and it was 8:02.
Oh, wow.
It was 2 stars. And I'm going to say the only reason why it was 2 stars was because it was so doggone violent. And
right.
At some point, Dump Truck was hurtled through the crowd for lack of thereof, hitting a pile of chairs and almost cutting a somersault. Picture that in your mind, but I can assure you it's on tape. And he obviously knocked himself silly as well, messed up his knees.
Right.
But he was able to be helped back to the locker room. But you and I both have said in the past that Dump Truck has a lot of problems with his endurance, but he is also very, very injury prone.
Right.
So, up next.
I'm impressed though. How long was that match though? You say?
802, 2-star.
Yeah, I will say I'm impressed that it went 8 minutes. Though I mean, yeah, it seemed like he's going a little bit farther, more and more as in his matches lately. But as far as the injuries, I think they're beginning to take its toll. So.
Right. Up next is Cooper Housley defeating Kid Holiday at 11-14, 2 stars, and Cooper just tried to ragdoll him, but Holiday did really well and kept the crowd with him, so he didn't get thrown around too bad.
And who did you just say? Who won the match?
It was Cooper Housley over Kid Holiday.
Okay.
K Holiday, 11-14, 2 stars.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And then Elijah Proctor defeated Ryan Bullitt, 10-01, 2 stars, to become his pro champion, which I think is way too premature because Ryan Bullitt basically just won the belt. He has barely had time to defend the belt. And it's almost like that belt's been a hot potato.
Right.
Which is not a good sign. Harry, the show itself was okay as far as the quality of wrestling. It was 2 hours and 20 minutes. But the other warning sign is you saw a very restless crowd there because you got good guys and bad guys and bad guys.
Yeah.
All that stuff, and that's all well and good. But I just think the promoter itself was trying to change up the matchmaking just so it wouldn't be boring.
Right.
But however, he has been using for the last 5 shows, the same talent over and over and over and consistently. And now the attendance is starting to suffer because they've seen everybody he has. And they're just dying for new faces, fresh faces. There's no storyline really there. And nobody's shot any type of angles or anything for nothing to jump this thing off to make it bigger or better. It's just, he definitely needs to, he doesn't need to take the crowd for granted that they'll keep coming, even though I'm using the same people every show.
Yeah.
In other words, he's got to change the recipe.
Yeah, it sounds like, as far as the card and the guy and everybody that he had on it, he has some very good talent on the card. So, in my opinion, the card should have drew a lot more people because of the talent that he had on the card. And plus, as far as advertising, I didn't see a lot of advertisement for this show. I didn't hear about a lot of advertisement for the show, but definitely has great talent. But it was great talent in this show. But as far as baby faces wrestling baby faces and bad guys wrestling bad guys, I mean heels against heels, it doesn't sound like it was a good recipe for a great show, because you pretty much you put the fans in a position. Put the fans in a position of confusion, and nothing ever comes good off confusion. So what you basically gonna have is, you're gonna have a show that's you're gonna have a situation where you're gonna change the morale of the crowd. The morale of the crowd is very important, and if it can go from one person to the next person, then that next person is gonna go to 3, 4, 5 people, and then it's gonna go on, just like throwing wood on a fire. It's just gonna build up. So yeah, it kills the crowd momentum and everything like that. So yeah, something has to be done, and it has to be storylines. It has to be storylines to keep this thing. You can put on great matches. There's a lot of people out here continually putting on great matches and things like that, but if they don't have a consistent storyline behind it to tell what's going on, then you basically have nothing, and that right there I think is hurting the promotion a little bit. But hopefully they can get things together. Hopefully William and whoever, if Joey's booking, they can get things together down the road. But man, I mean, I'm still impressed with I'm impressed with where they hold it. I'm impressed with what they do down in Pacolet, and I'm impressed with the people that they're booking. It's just they need to come up with storylines. They need to get a game plan, get that thing rolling to where to where people are gonna want to come out, and where people it's gonna keep their interest.
Well, my comment is you've got to keep the different talent coming in and out of there.
Yeah.
Frequently, because if you don't, the people they're already at a spot to where they're bored and they need something to surprise them.
Yeah. Well, you can keep new talent. You can keep new talent coming in, but if you can bring new talent in, but if that new talent don't come with a storyline, then basically you're spinning your wheels. I mean, pretty much.
Right.
So you, I mean, you and I both, which pretty much, I guess you could pretty much call both of us historians of professional wrestling as far as the old days. I mean, you might know a little bit more than I do. Well, I'm sure you do, because I mean, you have stayed on top of it. But I mean, we've seen a lot of different promotions, and we've seen promotions from 20 to 40 territories, regions, holding 20, 40, maybe 50 people on their roster, having the same people over and over. But they kept it interesting because they kept great storylines going, and they was able to navigate in between those storylines with other wrestlers coming in between to kind of break up the monotony of those feuds. So that's what was so amazing about professional wrestling back in the day. You had people that knew how to do that, and it seemed like it's a lost art today, not only in places like His Pro Wrestling or any of the other indie promotions that we have out here. It seems like it's a lost art in WWE and AEW too. So Impact, all the big ones, they're all having a problem with that. So that's something that, I mean, if you really want to make it out here in the world of professional wrestling, you want to make it more interesting or bring it back to the glory days, that's something that's gonna have to be figured out.
You can't let it get stale.
Yeah, that's right. No doubt.
That's the problem. Right now, he is not quite stale, but he could be very much stale. But the next show, if you go to the very next show, and he is not drawing above 60, 70 people, then we know that he is in a significant amount of trouble.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what,
I kind of think he's doing that because I'm not knocking William as a person or whatnot, but sometimes he's complacent to use what he's going to use and let's see what it produces.
Yeah.
You always got to keep it interesting.
Yeah, exactly. And this right here, I mean, it's no knock on William. It's just a lot of people, a lot of promoters in sports, in business overall. People get complacent. People like to lay on the status quo. So it's just people get laid back and they don't think ahead. And you always got to think. It's just like saying, if you give me some Snickers and some Baby Ruths and some Twix candy bars, and you tell me to go out on the street corner and start selling these things, or go door to door to sell them, you have to continue to come up with different ways to sell to sell to people. You have to come up with a strategic plan to excite people, to pretty much want to buy that product. So it's a walking billboard. I mean, in this case, a standing billboard. It's something that people have to see and people have to get interested in. And if you're not gonna continue to bring in something new to try to enhance them, you have to enhance the talent that you have by putting them in interesting situations, and that all boils down to the storylines. And so, it's not putting down William or anything, or putting down his pro wrestling, because we both wanted to succeed, and everybody who's been part of that promotion wanted to succeed. So, Danny, we appreciate the report, man, of his pro wrestling. Anything else you want to say before we sign off on this one?
Only thing else I'm going to say, Harry, is other people had told him warning signs of please don't let this become stale, but he is determined to stay in his own mindset. He'll come back and tell you, well, I'm doing it because of this way and that way. And all I can just suggest to him in the future, and we are friends, I'm not knocking him, is he needs to be way more open-minded.
No doubt.
And right now, from Joey Reimer, I don't think he had anything to do with this card here as far as booking it. I just think that Rollins put down matches he thought would switch up and be interesting.
Right.
And they were interesting as well, and they weren't bad, but again, this kind of caused a little bit of confusion, too much face on face. What did you have, like 3 babyface matches?
It was 3 babyface matches.
One regular heel match, heel versus heel.
Right.
The rest of it was tradition, so, man, I tell you, I think it kind of caused a little bit too much confusion, because the people do want to find who they want to cheer, who they want to boo. And I do think, regardless of the wrestling part of it, it was good, but I think it screwed up the reactions.
Right. Okay, so, all right. Well, man, yeah,
and that's just being fair about it.
Yeah,
But was it a good show? Yeah, but challenging for people to keep up with what he's going on, and does entice you a reason at the end of the night. Oh man, let's go back next month, because he's coming back next month in June, sometime the 20-something.
Okay.
I don't know, 24th. He's coming back June 24th. But nothing is enticing enough to tell you, hey, let's go back June 24th, because nothing compels you what happened this past Friday to go June 24th to see in a soap opera sense, or a episodic booking sense, why you should go from that show to this show, what compels you from one show to the other.
Right.
It's the same way. It's like when Bill Watts was booking Mid-South Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
If you tuned in Saturday and tuned in the following Saturday, he always gave you reasons to tune in the following Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
There's something continuously developing.
Oh, yes. Yes, that's something you have to... Go ahead.
This year didn't have that. He's just relying on this. Yeah, he's relying on the strong wrestling aspect of it, and no storyline.
Yeah.
You gotta have a reason.
Yeah, and the whole thing about it is, you can see it as we've been at certain cards at his pro wrestling, and I've seen great matches. I've seen good booking as far as who to bring in and who to match up, 2 guys matching up, but there was no story behind it. There was no rhyme or reason for some of it. So it didn't mesh well with the crowd, and you see that crowd just pretty much lost, and everybody started paying attention to what the kids are doing around the ring, and you don't want to see that. Anytime you see that at a wrestling show or any kind of show or performance or whatever, once they take their focus off what's going on in the ring, then that's a bad sign. So, man, hopefully William Rollins and his pro wrestling can get it together for the next show and the upcoming shows. It has the potential to be a great wrestling promotion, but at this point, who knows? So, Man, that's
he needs to refocus.
No doubt. But that's Danny Paris. Danny Paris, we appreciate you giving us a report on his pro wrestling and what's going on there. And earlier you gave you gave us an insight on Tar Heel Pro Wrestling. But for HBT Harry Bernard Taylor with my man Danny Paris, we'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks.
Have a good one. Stay straight up.
Thanks, Harry.
You're welcome.